captions are one way where AI is impacting things, but you're also using AI from a localization standpoint in terms of figuring out what content to serve up to people.
Yeah, correct. So we for those who aren't as familiar with fast channels, so we are distributed off of YouTube across fast channels. So what that means is these are like live linear broadcasts that are streamed digitally, but there's like a set program, just like you have a TV guide, and every 30 minutes of the day we'll have a program block.
Yeah, and for
It
those
is
that are not familiar with the term, fast refers to free ad-supported television, and these are streaming channels that are delivered typically via integrated into other streaming services, hoping to garner some eyeballs for very tailored, specific types of programming.
Exactly. And it's across many, many endpoints for us, right? So, everything from Samsung, Roku, Hulu, et cetera.
Right.
And our challenge there is we're live across many territories, and there's quite a lot of lift to getting a collection of channels live in a new territory. We have 10 to 15 channels, let's say. They span different genres, decades, and themes. And when you're getting it live in a new territory, like let's say Italy, you're not just going to copy paste what you did in Spain because that wouldn't work. So there is localization at play when you think about cultural preferences, requirements in certain territories, and then just operational efficiency, frankly, and actually assembling these schedules, generating them en masse without requiring a team of 20 new experts to be stood up in each new territory. And that's again where there's like this human guided AI approach where we've used AI to create the foundation of that program or that programming when we go into a new territory. And then we still retain, two or three experts who can help guide that model. So for example, in France, you know, even if the top hits in France at any given month are mostly English speaking or mostly English songs, we still need a minimum number of French songs in the programming. French people just don't
Right.
want to see all English songs in their linear programming. And
Yeah.
so that's something that we get from local experts, and they guide the model to ensure that we produce an outcome that is good for the market.
Yeah, it can be cheaper to have AI input in that to help manage the whole process. But Albert, it's not just all about cost savings. In some cases, we can leverage this localization in a way that drives monetization as well. What do you see happening on that realm? Is it really possible to leverage AI for localization applications in a way that drives more revenue to the sheet?
Yeah, so one area, and I'm going to start with kind of the foundational technology change that has really opened up these conversations, especially in the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months. And that change, it's not just with kind of the broad AI LLM wave that all of us within the industry and even as consumers have been hearing people talk about, but it's this notion of multimodal models, which really just came about a year or so ago. And so fundamentally, when you think about what's different about these models, well, they are trained from the very beginning to understand video, text, audio, images. They have advanced reasoning and they have temporal understanding. So what's happening over time? And so the one example of this, and then Steve, I'll bring this back into your question, I promise. I often talk about this notion of, a customer said, oh, we're looking for in this program or ad creative a knife. But with multimodal models, what is a knife? Is it the object that you see? Is it somebody speaking the word knife in multiple languages? Is it the letters KNIFE written in the background? Is it somebody, again, from a action standpoint, using a knife in a not so nice way? Or is it Bobby Flay chopping vegetables with a knife? Now, today's models can understand the differences. And so when you think about what people want to do with content, yes, it has started with captions and subtitles and making that accuracy, improving that, right, automating those. But what we're also seeing is this now can expand into things like audio description. And if done responsibly and working with talent and other union and contractual bodies of actual dubbing. And so really dubbing is not just audio in a different language. Dubbing is, to the points made by some others, it's about the timing of the words to the original track. It may be about voice prosody, so you have the emotion. It's about lip sync reanimation. But again, all those need to be done properly within the rights of the talent and the content itself. But why are all these things so important? It means that companies can now think about how can they take their existing content, expand the reach to audiences to improve engagement, and ideally, right, create more ad inventory for top line revenue, have this as a way to acquire new subscribers. Or companies are also looking at content outside of their country and saying, if I can acquire that content, if I can localize it, and it could be any number of captions to subtitles to even dubbing, if I can do this properly, right, within the contractual use of that, then I can offer more content to my audience that I wouldn't have been able to get before. But I can do this in a way that, from a ROI perspective, I can again monetize you through advertising or through subscription. So we're seeing a lot more of this notion of saying, how do I expand my content library without having to produce it from scratch, which is difficult, time consuming, and requires very specific creative talent.